Blog Talk Radio.
Original game, let's go. It's time to attack. We the smartest, fastest, and most vicious. We gonna put them in their place. We coming out here for my game.
And he's gonna fire deep. But there, inside the 10.
Mother Superman.
Put route by Edelman. Now they come on a reverse to the near side on a quick run.
What's up, NFL fans, and welcome to another edition of Cover 2 with McMillan and Purdue, the show where we talk nothing but NFL football. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Devin McMillan. I'm here at the round table with my partner in crime. We got Fred Purdue. Fred, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? This NFL season is coming to an end. There's some craziness going on in this NFL, and we don't want to keep the people waiting too much longer.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of craziness going on, man. People over in Washington can't catch a break, pun intended. It's a damn shame what's going on there with the quarterback position, man. They're fiending for one right now, but we'll get into that in just a few minutes. But we're going to start our show off with a couple of quick slants. We're going to go straight into our quick slant segment. I think the theme this week, Fred, might be job loss. There's a lot of people that kind of lost their job this week, whether you're a player, a coach, assistant coach. I'm pretty sure some referees got fired here and there. But we're going to talk about Kelvin Benjamin and Andre Holmes being released by the Buffalo Bills, citing offensive woes. What's your thoughts on that, man? I know Kelvin Benjamin is such an underachiever. This had to happen, right?
Yeah, it had to happen. Kelvin Benjamin hasn't had near the career that we thought he would. Honestly, I wasn't really a big fan of him coming into the league. He wasn't a big, fast, speedy guy. Usually when as a player, when you look at attributes of a player, you think if you're big, you better be fast or you better have good hands. If you're small, you better be able to catch. You better be able to play inside, outside. You better either have some speed, something. Kelvin Benjamin doesn't have hands. He's not fast. He's not even good. That's a triple whammy.
What are you?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, how does he even have any relation to another NFL player in Travis Benjamin, who's small, fast, and he's half decent? How did you guys
see? But
parents? What happened?
The thing with Kelvin Benjamin, after being highly touted in college, he comes out in his rookie year and he gives you no indication that he's not going to be the guy that you expected him to be. In 16 games in his rookie season and only 15 starts, he had 73 receptions, 1,008 yards. I mean, we kind of knew he wasn't going to be a big yardage per reception guy, but he was a big possession receiver. Moved the chains when you need him. Red zone threat, had 9 touchdowns that season. And then you look 4 years later, he only has 20 touchdowns in his whole career. This season, before being released, he was targeted 62 times, has 23 receptions, 354 yards, 1 goddamn touchdown. And, I just didn't. For the last few years, I didn't really see his value, and we kind of knew it was going to come to this. I mean, we always say, when somebody's out there, it only takes one team. So I'm pretty sure at this point, Kelvin Benjamin will find a landing spot somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be this season. He might have to come in next season maybe with a different physique. Maybe he needs a little bit of a body change for anybody to believe that he's even serious enough about resurrecting his career. So we'll see what he does over the offseason. Some tight ends. We'll see. Yeah,
he's bigger than some tight ends.
But we know his ass ain't blocking nobody, so they're not going to move him.
Nah, definitely not. No, he'll block somebody from the table. He'll block you from the table, but that's about it.
Yeah, so the Bills released him and Andre Holmes, citing offensive woes. How woe is that offense?
It's pretty bad, and that's after you add in Nate Peterman, or as we call him, the Peter Man. He was terrible. I knew that we saw that coming way before he ever got drafted. And NFL teams don't listen. So had they listened, they would have had sound advice. They could have just cut us a check. I could have just took the money. We could have did some things with that. Versus, if you're just gonna throw some money away, I mean, that was just a waste of a check. But then Shady McCoy isn't there. He's probably the only bright spot on that offense. I don't really see any. Zay Jones was supposed to be the guy at the slot receiver position. He went a little nutso on those synthetic drugs off the field. That wasn't great. I just don't see any bright spots. Josh Allen, I was a huge fan of him in college, but he's just a big arm quarterback who can't hit the backside of anything. I don't see where this offense goes, and they're in the top 10 of the draft again. Every time you just hit the retread on those tires and you keep kicking the dirt on these players, it sets you back a minimum of 4 years. And, yeah, the defense is great, but are you going to waste that defense? You're going to waste guys like Tre'Davious White and Edmonds at linebacker. Those two guys are great, by the way. Milano at linebacker. They have some really good defensive players. You'd almost think Rex Ryan was still the head coach.
No doubt. All right, and in other news, Legion of Boom. Once a member of the Legion of Boom, former Seahawks and Patriots cornerback Brandon Brunner, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison this week for attempted murder. Now, what happened, because he'd been arrested previous times during this previous calendar year, but this one stems from him allegedly breaking into the house of an ex-girlfriend. This was about 30 miles east of L.A., and he allegedly threatened to kill her. The woman's 2 children were present when the incident occurred. So he pled no contest to 1 count of attempted murder, 2 counts of willful child endangerment, in exchange for having 3 other charges dropped. So as a result, 8 years in prison. What thoughts on that, man? What the hell is wrong with Brandon Browner? Man, these dudes are way too high strung and aggressive, man. Y'all gotta chill.
Yeah, you gotta chill, man. What's going on, man? You've made all these millions. You won a couple Super Bowls, and now you just want to go just crazy on everybody. Man, is the CTE that bad in the NFL? You ran yourself you were in a car crash for 60 plays, 80 plays a game. You made it to the highest level, and now you want to just squander it. 8 years of your life just gone. And, you could have just left that girl alone, man. You didn't need all that. You didn't need to go through all that. But 8 years in prison will probably it'll do you right.
It definitely will, man. But we just keep seeing these dudes get in trouble, man. I just wonder, man, you guys are living the dream, at least living your dream. You're playing a kid's game for a whole lot of money, something that thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of kids aspire to do, and not a lot can be in that position, man. These guys just squander. I know that they're human beings as well, and they make mistakes. But some of these mistakes, man, come on. Come on, dude. All right. So the big news out of the week, right after the game on Sunday, Green Bay fired Mike McCarthy. The crazy part about that is that's not even really what we're going to focus on here. Packers also fire associate head coach Winston Moss hours after criticizing leadership on Twitter. So, he tweeted something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing. Once you start,
I have the tweet here. If you just want to look, you want to lay up here. I got the. I definitely. I can make that tweet easily appear up. Twitter is a great thing, and but when you're questioning leadership, he goes on to say on Twitter, I ponder this: what championship teams have what great championship teams have are great leaders. Period. It's not the offensive guru trend. It's not the safe trend. Find somebody that is going to hold number 12 and everyone in the building to a hashtag Lombardi standard, period. I don't know what this thing about period is. I think I have an idea, but and then he also went on to hashtag losing sucks. This was at 11:59 a.m.
Lost your job.
And on December 4th. At 9:24 p.m. on December 4th, he tweets out, "The Packers have informed me that they're letting me go. #thanks Twitter." This thing has been a roller coaster. I mean, I remember seeing yesterday the report was that Aaron Rodgers, a part of firing McCarthy was that Aaron Rodgers was just changing plays at the line of scrimmage, despite being told to run something else. But at the same time, those same leaders within the Packers organization were saying, picking this head coach has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers, which is a complete lie. Aaron Rodgers has as much power in the NFL as LeBron James does in LA and in the NBA. So I'll let you do with it what you may, but this has a very bad vibe to it.
Yeah, this is interesting because reports that I saw said that this was Joe Philbin's call. And that's interesting because, you're an interim coach damn near on your first day on the job, and you're already firing people. So this tells me that there was some inner strife within this organization, within this coaching staff before any of this Mike McCarthy stuff went down. So I'm assuming it goes like this. Once Philbin is named head coach, then maybe Winston Moss feels that Philbin isn't the guy that's going to come in and hold number 12 accountable. Philbin probably takes exception to being called out on Twitter with a subliminal, especially by some black dude who probably was hired by the coach that just got fired. So you can roll too, black dude. And this is just speculation. Anybody out there, I don't want you thinking like, you got the tea and this is what happened. This is me trying to put two and two together, and I'm speculating on this. So, this isn't gospel. Don't quote me on this. But that's what I see happening. You know what I'm saying? He questioned leadership, and it seems like that type of tweet would come out after, okay, they fire my guy, who got me the position where I am now, but they put in position a guy who probably was around here kissing Aaron Rodgers' ass the whole time anyway. So how does that help the organization go forward if you're not going to hold this guy accountable? My guy fired because he was off doing his rogue thing because his head is blown up because everybody tells him how great he is. I guarantee you this is probably what happened, but like I said, don't quote me on it, people. How's that sound to you, Fred? Sound like it could be, feasible?
Sounds feasible. Winston Moss is actually one of those guys. One, got to shout him out. Former Hurricane. We love that. We love you, Winston, but keep your mouth closed sometimes just for the sake of keeping that check coming. But Joe Philbin was quoted as saying, "It's never about." Yep, there you go. Joe Philbin was quoted as saying, "It's never about one thing." According to ESPN's Rob Domonsky, he also went on to say, again, I think it's not that important. As I said to the team, we've got to be professional, accountable, respectable, and punctual. A lot of big time. You're putting a lot on a team right now. You're really putting it out there. I mean, for the same guys that kind of kiss Aaron Rodgers' ass a little bit here. He went on to say, those are the four things that we've got to do the next 4 weeks, and if we do all those things, we'll be in great shape. He reiterates, it wasn't about you're talking to a guy who's never tweeted in his life, doesn't even know what Twitter is. That's a lie. So again, it's not about a tweet or anything like that. I just think the fit right now isn't where it needs to be. Now, Winston Moss has been in NFL circles, has been talked about as far as a head coach. He's up there as far as one of those African-American coaches that is next up as far as being a head coach. So I'm not sure where that's coming from. Joe Philbin was before his time at Miami, he was actually with the Packers as an OC, and now he's back with the Packers as an OC. Sounds like him and Rodgers are buddy-buddy. I've heard names such as Josh McDaniels himself. maybe even Nick Saban coming in to be the next guy. They need an offensive guy. Maybe he's just trying to set things up so that he's the next guy there in title, as they call it, Title Town. It's losing its luster a little bit, especially with a quarterback who's, by the way, 5-6 in playoff games, dating back to winning the Super Bowl years ago. So this was a weird one. This says, you know what this says to me? This says everything. This says Cowboys, Buccaneers, Browns. Who else
has
is really
dysfunctional franchise written all
Raiders, exactly. This is dysfunctional franchise all over it, and this doesn't normally happen in Green Bay. This is one of the few places I did not expect it to happen. But again, Aaron Rodgers has the same pull that LeBron James does now, and when you fall to the
pressure's
superstar
on
player,
Rodgers now.
that's what happens. Yeah,
pressure's on Aaron Rodgers now. All right, speaking of dysfunctional franchises. The Washington professional football team, to no fault of their own on this particular, instance, they lost another quarterback on Monday night as Colt McCoy broke his leg on a bit of a scramble and slide play. So they've lost 2 quarterbacks to broken legs in the past 3 weeks. They signed Mark Sanchez last week, who had to, jump into the game right at the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter on Monday night. He went in and, did what Mark Sanchez pretty much does. The problem is now that they're in this predicament, they had to go looking throughout the free agent market. Basically, at this point in the season, that means the streets for a backup quarterback. So they ended up signing Josh Johnson, who hadn't thrown an NFL pass since something like 2011. He's played for 12 different NFL teams. The flack that they've been getting, mostly from their fan base, mostly from their black fan base, is that, okay, you couldn't consider Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick's name comes up every time a team needs a quarterback. We know that. At this point, I don't understand why fans still do it, but we know that it's going to happen. The thing that Washington did to kind of fan this fire was to come out and say that they actually did consider Colin Kaepernick, but decided to go in a different direction. Now, consideration in Washington didn't call for phone call, meeting, workout, nothing like that. We just considered them. Hey, we're in this meeting right here. So who we got on this list? We got Josh Johnson. We got the Peterman. We got Colin Kaepernick. That was consideration by reading off the list and actually saying his name. That's what I take consideration to be. What are your thoughts on this? Because in my estimation, Fred, I know that Washington's not going to pick up Colin Kaepernick, but my question in all of this is, why douse those flames? Why make a quote unquote controversial, a forced controversial situation more controversial by acting like you were, in a moral place? Oh, we consider Colin Kaepernick. Washington, Colin Kaepernick is the last person. Your owner, president of football operations, everybody's already coming out. Have already come out to speak against what Colin Kaepernick did in the first place. We know that that's not the type of guy, the guy that they want on their team. So why fan the fire? Why throw this gas on the fire, Fred?
Man, dysfunctional. There's 2 sides to this story. Let's get the football side out of the way really quick. 0 for 5 as a quarterback, 96 of 177 for a 54.2% completion for over 1,000 yards, and he's been in the league since 2009. He was the draft pick of one Raheem Morris, played for 7 different teams. These are all the statistics for Mr. Johnson, who has done absolutely, positively nothing in the NFL. And the only good thing about his career is that in college he was the pupil of one Jim Harbaugh. Now that that's out the way and his trash career is out there, let's move on to the real stuff. So, Colin Kaepernick will probably never play in the NFL again. That's the bad part, because he's a much better quarterback than anybody on the Redskins. Oh, I said it. I said I wasn't going to say it. The Washington professional football team's roster. And he's probably better than probably a third of the league. And unfortunately, he's a martyr. And the Washington team deserves everything they're getting right now. All of the backlash from their black fans that still exist, although I don't understand why. And this is, and did you really think that they would actually consider him, take the air quotes away, but actually really consider him after they picked up a guy who was told to stay away from his ex-girlfriend, who he had already slapped before, and she recanted her story after literally saying he slapped me. Oh,
his dumb ass.
We made up. We made up. Now we're gonna do it. I'm gonna do it again a year later, and we're gonna sign him, justify it, then have to justify it again after the backlash, then really apologize for it and have to justify it one more time, and then we realize, oh crap, we have Mark Sanchez, Mark butt fumble as our quarterback, and we didn't play bad, but he's just not the answer.
Right.
This makes no sense to me. I don't trust this team ever to make any sense anymore.
See, yeah, I mean, and for me, like I said, I'm not even going to say that it doesn't make sense to me because I didn't think in my wildest dreams that Washington would ever consider or pick up Colin Kaepernick. My whole point in this whole diatribe that we're having right now is why the hell would you lie about it? Okay, you didn't consider him. Okay, whoop-de-damn-do. But the fan pressure out here is making people do stupid stuff. Now, on the other side, the flip side of this, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, with Colin Kaepernick being the woke young gentleman that he is, would he even take a call from Washington? You know what I'm saying?
Of all
like
teams, exactly.
Of all teams, like an owner who's holding on to this team name, even though there's people out there, there's indigenous people out there that says, and they've been saying it for decades, that it's offensive. All he does is fight back by going out and doing charitable things for some indigenous groups so they can get on TV and say nice things about him and to tell everybody that there's nothing wrong with the team name. They got a stake in it, you dummies. And, the people who repeat this type of stuff, and they repeat the statistics saying, well, in a poll, 54% or 70% or 90% of Native Americans say they have no problem with it. And then you go do your research on your own and you find out that this poll that they're talking about polled like 67 people. And they want them to speak for every Native American in the country. But my thing is this. If 70, 80% says there's nothing wrong with it, okay, there's 20% of the people out there that says that is a racial slur. Hey, black people call each other the N-word all the time. But if you make a team called Washington N-words, we're going to get on that ass. So there's a difference. There's some people who, let's not act like it. We talk about it all the time in our community, Fred. There's some quote-unquote Uncle Toms. There's some quote-unquote coons. You can't have a coon Native American who say, ain't nothing wrong with that. Or you can't just have people who don't have knowledge of themselves and, haven't studied back long enough to know what certain things like that mean. So I question the fact or the notion that he would even take their call in the first place. So who the hell are you to be claiming you considered him? Nobody wants to play for y'all. Secondly, I still fight with the notion of whether or not Colin Kaepernick wants to play football at all. Think about this.
No one's really ever
a conflict of interest for him to sign with an NFL team because he currently has a collusion suit against the league. If he wins this collusion suit, which all evidence points right now saying that he will, because every time a quarterback is needed, people go to the bottom of the barrel for quarterbacks and they skip right over this guy. Now, I do understand the premise. Like, if you're an owner, you're a moneymaker, I can understand the premise. Like, okay, Colin Kaepernick brings a lot of attention. He's been out of football for a long time, so if we sign him now, he's definitely going to bring a lot of attention. They would like to use the word, quote unquote, distraction. But how much of this distraction is worth it for a backup? That was the same situation that we had with Michael Sams in the draft and why he went so late, even though it ended up being justified that he went that late, is because people were like, okay, how much distraction do we want to bring in by having the first openly gay NFL player on our team and the media firestorm that's going to cause and the hoopla and the circus when this guy is not even that good? Now, some people have that argument about Colin Kaepernick, and even if you think he's good, if he's signing somewhere, he's signing on to be the backup. So even if they don't use the terminology not that good, they're thinking, do we do all of this for a backup? So I can understand that premise, but at the same time, I think he would make, if it's about money at all for him, he would make a whole of a lot more winning this collusion case than signing a backup deal at a vet's minimum for, some team, some desperate team that he might only be with for the remainder of the season. So for me, I sit back and wonder because you never actually hear Colin Kaepernick say anything. You hear, quote, people close to Kaepernick saying that he still works out and he still wants to play. But just like in basketball with the whole Kawhi Leonard saga that went on last year, you never heard anything from him. I mean, that's believable because he's a functioning mute. But Colin Kaepernick doesn't talk about playing in the NFL. You hear people saying, oh, they're not signing Cap, I'm with Cap, and this kind of stuff. But does he really want to play?
Yeah, it's one of those things. You're talking to the guy that knows the guy that knows the guy that may be the errand boy for the guy that happens to know Kaepernick, who may have heard somebody whisper something, and they ran with it. And that's where you get into a lot of just not so great ideas and things. So, honestly, for me, when I look at this situation, like you said, I don't think Kaepernick really and this is just my educated guess in this, I don't think he's made a lot of money in his time. And at this point, I don't think getting hit and getting involved in these ongoing car crashes is what we kind of defined an NFL hit from. I think he wants to be in a car crash every 5 seconds.
And Fred, not even just that though. If he signs with an NFL team, doesn't he lose some of his cachet as a martyr? Like you never play again, you go down as a martyr. You are a hero. Your name will ring for the rest of eternity.
Or
you sign.
And play we might think you might be and I don't want to take shots at your guy, but we might think you're a bit of a Malcolm Jenkins right now. I mean, I'm just going out. What did you do to get back?
I disagree with that. Even though it has nothing to do with him being an Eagle, but I disagree with that.
Up a little bit. But that's the thought. That's what his peers and that's what his fans will probably think is, well, what did you do after no team wanted you and all of a sudden, you decide I'm going to come back and play quarterback.
You know what? Because people need drama. People will eventually turn on him and spread that narrative. But for now, those are the same people saying, I'm not watching because Cap don't have a job. Or, oh, they signing all these bums, but they're not signing Cap. Those are the same people when Cap takes a job, and somebody sits back long enough to start spreading a different narrative, then all of a sudden Cap's going to be a solid. You know how people are, man. And you know how our people are. They will switch up on you in a second. All right, so we'll see how this situation plays out. I mean, because Washington is still in contention, even if nobody thinks they're in contention. Record-wise, they're still in contention for the division. So it's interesting that, you're going to roll with Mark Sanchez with Josh Johnson as your backup. So we'll see. And I'm not one of those people, because there's a lot of people out there that says, Cap, they're still in contention. If they want to win, they need to go sign Cap. Like, Kaepernick is my favorite athlete. Let me put that out there before I give you the but. Kaepernick is my favorite athlete because of the stance he took, because of the strength that he's shown. Mm-hmm. But I'd be a hypocrite if I sat here and told you all that I think that, back when he was playing, I was all on the Cap bandwagon as a great quarterback. I didn't think Cap was a good quarterback. We used to joke on Cap all the time until it got serious and, he earned enough respect not to get those jokes.
He was a capable quarterback. I can't call him great either.
But even when we talk about his last stint in San Francisco, everybody talks about the statistics. They were still trash at the time.
Yeah, they were trash.
And that wasn't his fault, but he wasn't transcended enough to make the situation better either. And the kind of the way people talk about him now, you would think he was that. You know what I'm saying? But, the more you dive into your legendary status, the more, people are going to kind of overinflate what it was that you actually did when you were on the playing field. Like, the more Cap becomes our black leader, our black hero, our activist, the more we're going to exaggerate what he was on the football field. So now that I got a lot of our audience hating me, let's move on and go deep. Let's run some deep routes before we give our pick six and get out of here. And, of course, going deep segment today, we got to talk a little bit about Kareem Hunt. Super Bowl contender destroyer, fantasy football owner destroyer, white woman's back while on the ground because he kicked her in it destroyer. Kareem Hunt, the situation, it's been in the news all week. Back in February, he had a bit of an altercation with a woman that he had just met that night. So nobody actually knows what the whole story is and why this altercation started. You just saw the TMZ video of Kareem Hunt shoving this woman, the woman hitting him in the face, Kareem Hunt having to be restrained to the point where he broke restraint, tried to rush at the woman, hit a guy by mistake who pushes him into the woman, who knocks the woman down. He still has to be restrained, and while the woman's on the ground, he kicks her. Not some hard Robert De Niro and Goodfellas stomp-out type kick, but a kick nonetheless, so it really doesn't matter how hard it was. The woman was on the ground, and you kicked her, kicked at her, threw her, whatever you did, it was egregious. Now, he was kind of released right away by the Kansas City Chiefs because when they brought him in, they claimed that, they knew about the situation. And back in February when they were abreast of the situation, he allegedly lied to them. I guess not telling them what exactly you would see on a video if there was indeed a video. So he was first put on the commissioner's exempt list, but the Chiefs released him almost immediately afterwards. So you brought up, Fred, earlier when we talked about Washington, the whole Reuben Foster thing. Kareem Hunt indeed made it through waivers because I guess no team in the league wanted to be the next Washington with the backlash this week. But honestly, this is not a Ray Rice situation to me, and I'm not saying that because there's anything different in how hard you hit a woman. The fact is he hit a woman. The only reason I'm saying that is because Ray Rice was nearing the end of his rope. Had he been the Ray Rice of a few years prior to that, there would have been somebody who was willing to give Ray Rice a job, even though he did the egregious thing to his then fiance that he did. I think Kareem Hunt will work in the NFL again. What are your thoughts on this whole fiasco?
This one was crazy because I heard rumblings of this before it ever became a thing, but, there wasn't really super hardcore concrete evidence. And
right.
So, you kind of dismiss something and, there were things leading back to his days back in Toledo and him just not supposed to be with his boys and things like that. And you hear that kind of thing pretty much every year from a player who's kind of made it or he's a superstar in the making. Kareem Hunt was a 6th-round pick. Let's not act like he was the superstar coming out of college. But the part of that being a 6th-round pick was these off-the-field issues, and they keep this kind of stuff quiet. But when you see the things in this video, it's like, dude, you at some point, and I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and get it out of the way. Okay, so you go you push this young lady and you walk away. Your homeboys are right there. They're trying to hold you back. They turn you around. You go the other way, and she follows you. Okay? At this point, your spidey senses should be tingling. I've already put my hands on a woman. There could be a videotape. I'm already a little bit in trouble. This isn't domestic violence. This is just assault. Let's just call it what it is. It is what it is. Now, the young lady shouldn't have followed him because at the base of all of this, a man should not put his hands on a woman. But a woman should also be an adult and not follow that man who's already heated and escalate the situation further than what it needs to be. There's there's this idea that there's this protection, and there's because you're a female, and there's not that protection simply because you're a female. It means, look, you're about to go into dangerous territory because you're dealing with an enraged man at this point. She follows him. He pushes his homeboy out the way to the point where he pushes this NFL player who works out like crazy and has superpowers pretty much because he has the strength of two men more than likely, especially now because the adrenaline's going. He pushes his guy into the young lady and pushes her down. You're wrong at this point. That's where you are wrong, Kareem Hunt. You should have kept going. Your spidey senses should have said, look, I need to go find these police. This is the situation. It was on tape. I may have had a little bit of problem and did something wrong, but I didn't let it escalate. I walked away. There was apparently some N-words thrown around. Dude, get over it. They call you N-word from the stands. Let's be real about this. You hear it on the regular basis. You call your guy. More than likely.
But it could have been. That's our go-to. That's our go-to when we do something with a white person involved. We're going to say he or she called us the N-word, whether they did or not. That's what we got to say.
And we use the A, they use the ER. It shouldn't be used regardless. But then you add insult to injury. You walk over and you don't really kick her, but you kick her in such a way like I could feel that wasn't even a love tap. That was like just petty. That was beyond petty. That's like
but the optics of it makes it worse than it was. So.
Exactly. I mean, that's the little kick you give your little brother after you guys finish playing WWE when you're a little kid, and you body slam them and they start crying, and you tell them you better not tell mom, and then you kick them in the leg and run away. That's what that kick was, and I don't want to I don't want to take away, marginalize this, but that's what that's like, and. Film doesn't lie, as we say during the game. Film don't lie, but see, film doesn't also tell you how hard you kicked her, how hard you punched her, what she said. That's silent. But
in this situation, Fred, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter how hard it
doesn't.
I said the optics of it are terrible, and nobody's even going to give us that. So he's been removed from the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. He's been removed from Madden. He's been removed from the league. I
liked him in Madden.
He's been removed from my fantasy team.
Ouch.
But the thing is, like I said, he's talented. So I know the Chiefs, oh my God, I know they're like suffering knowing that they had to be the moral police on this, probably because of what Washington just did last week. They had to be the moral police on this and let go of probably a top 3 running back and a young guy in the whole league. So I know this hurts them tremendously. And this was a team that was on a run, possibly for a Super Bowl. Not saying they still couldn't get it done, but, being a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, I know Andy's past and his trouble that he has finishing things in the first place. So to lose a weapon like this along the way may have written their death certificate. Now, let me tell you a quick story. Quick story here.
Story time. We love story time.
Story time. I started my fantasy season 10-0, right? My running back committee, my usual starters, Kareem Hunt, every game he's available, he starts. But my usual starters, I drafted Kareem Hunt and Joe Mixon to be my starters. But James White, because of his exploits out of the backfield, kind of moved into my starting lineup over Joe Mixon, right? Mm-hmm. So 10-0, I'm rolling out the gate, killing everybody. We come to a point in the season, I even pick up T.J. Yeldon because Fournette gets hurt. He's even, balling for me, even though he's sitting on my bench. So we come to a point where things start to even out a little bit. Teams are starting to play closer. My third receiver is not consistent. I had Sammy Watkins, and Sammy Watkins could be Sammy Watkins on any given day and be injured. So he wasn't consistent when he was on the field, and then he started missing games altogether. So I had guys like Funches, Sanu, something like that. So I'm like, I need another stud receiver to go with Odell Beckham and Juju Smith-Schuster. So a couple of weeks ago, when I was still undefeated, I made I think I had just lost one game. I had lost my first game. I was 10-1. I made a trade for Robert Woods. It was Robert Woods for Joe Mixon straight up. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm good because I got Kareem Hunt. I got James White, even though we've come to the point in the season where Bill Belichick just starts using other backs for no damn reason, even though you've done everything you've done. You know how your coach does. Yeah, I feel like running Burkhead for 2 weeks. Like, what are you doing out here? So I had those guys, right? So I lost that first game legitimately right when I made the trade. But making the trade, I'm like, okay, I know this is basically me throwing this week making this trade because I'm trading away Mixon while Hunt is on bye. I'm getting Robert Woods while he's on bye. So, and I got TJ Yeldon, but Fournette came back that week. So I don't have a second running back, and I still don't have my third receiver. So I lose that game. Fine. Now, this week that just passed, I'm like, all right, my new look team is going to be all together, for the first time. We're going to be good. We're going to smash somebody. Robert Woods is by, I got Hunt. I got everybody. I got James White. Then the TMZ video comes up. I lose Hunt immediately. I scramble to grab his replacement. I got Spencer Ware. So I have to make a decision between Spencer Ware and TJ Yeldon. I end up going with Spencer Ware. I'm like, let's go with the unknown right here. So I end up losing a third game in a row to a team who was fighting to get the last spot in the playoffs. Since I'm the first seed, this guy beats me pretty handily, and now I have to play him again this upcoming week. And because of this, like I no longer have Mixon because I traded him when I thought my team was stout. So instead of having Mixon to put in for Hunt, I have nobody. So as you can hear in my voice and the inflection that I'm speaking with, I'm just as mad at this dude as everybody else. And Hunt, if I see you on the streets, I don't care if you got the strength of 2 minutes, you're going to have to see me about something. Because now you're messing with my money. That's all I wanted to say. We can move on, but he's messing with my money. If this was just some free fantasy league, but 500 is on the line, you're messing with my money now. First, leave the ladies alone. Number 2, don't mess with money. So, yeah, this is why I hate fantasy football in the first place, man, because you think, like, I'm making this move, put me over the top. I'm already killing everybody. This is going to make me even stronger. And then it all fell apart because of one goddamn TMZ video. I can't win, man. I can't win for losing, man. Spencer Ware better ball his life away this week. That's all I wanted to say. You got any more thoughts about this jabroni before we pick 6 and get out of here, man? I'm mad now.
Oh, somehow I always have to insert that team in Foxborough. A few weeks back I said, it's going to be funny how the Patriots find a way to backdoor into first place. Kind of like how the Cowboys found a way to backdoor into possibly making the playoffs. You guys better win this Sunday or else. Please. Okay. For me, though, I put out a tweet. I said, the Patriots already beat this Chiefs team earlier. They've already beaten the team behind them in the Texans, who are on a 9-game winning streak since that. And they have the Steelers left. They've already beaten the Vikings. It's very hard to tell. It's hard to prove to me that there's another team right now that's going to possibly beat them if you're walking through. When we thought for a while, this Patriots team, I don't know, it's something up with this team, but they found a way. As long as they keep winning, they found a way to make it where the AFC side of the house goes through Foxborough. Just saying, Andy Reid. It's not his fault, but Andy just finds a way to just give it away every time.
It would have been his fault. He gave it away eventually in another way, so it would have been his fault. So maybe he can do this and take some like, hey, it wasn't my fault this time. We didn't get to my part yet. All right, so it's pick 6 time, man. This is the segment where we pick 6 of the bigger games of the week. give you our picks and some brief thoughts on the game before we get out of here for the week. So our first pick six, we're going to talk about the Saints versus the Bucks. And for me, this one is pretty much an easy one. I'm going to go with the Saints having to get back to their winning ways after the L that they took, that people think have them exposed now. I kind of disagree with that, and I think if the Saints and the Cowboys ended up meeting in the playoffs, I don't really think it's going to be a problem for the Saints. Everything had to kind of align the night that they did lose to the Cowboys. Like, you can say, all right, we got to rush Drew Brees up the middle. We got to get in his face so he can't step into the pocket. Okay, that's easier said than done. Cowboys were able to do it that night. But what makes you think that it's just going to be that easy, especially knowing that they're going to make adjustments because everybody thinks that's the way to beat them now. So the Bucs damn sure ain't going to do it. I got the Saints in this one.
I have the Saints in this one too. For me, when I look at how Drew Brees and company are going to just rush. They're gonna get after Jameis. Now, there was a bright spot I saw when the Bucs and the Panthers got together last weekend. Jameis Winston looks very, very sharp. And the one thing that I've always said is
problem,
if Jameis can
inconsistency.
If he was as consistent as he was inconsistent, he would be a elite quarterback because he looked very elite. He showed great control of the offense. Everything was clicking, and with that team, they don't run the ball a lot, so you have to rely on Jameis making plays, not only with his arm but his legs. And for me, if you can give me 4 or 5 of those, that's the difference between being a 5-win team and a 10-win team. But that's the difference between the goods and the greats. Jameis may be slightly good, but he's not great. But it gives you a little bit of hope next year. Maybe that will continue. But for right now, 35 points, Drew Brees, you're not overcoming that. Just saying.
All right. All right, so the second game we're going to talk about, the Falcons versus the Packers. And I look at this as one of those games. Okay, they just got rid of Mike McCarthy. It kind of depends on where the locker room was. If the locker room was pro-Aaron and anti-Mike, this could be one of those games where they're going to rally. They're going to rally around their interim coach at least for a week. I'm not saying this is going to be their playoff push or anything like that because a lot of times these type of rallies don't last that long. I think they'll rally around their coach, get a dramatic and sentimental win this coming week. So I got them pulling one out over the Falcons, but that's not necessarily an indication of what I think they're going to be for the final stretch of the season. I'll take the Packers in this one.
Give me the Packers in this one. This game has name value, and at the beginning of the year when we're looking over schedules, that game's going to be good. This game's going to be good. This game might have implications for playoffs.
Not knowing it was going to be 4-8 versus 4-7-1.
Exactly. And every week I keep saying the Packers, this is not the Packers. I keep hoping Aaron Rodgers just pulls his team out of the fire, but it just isn't going to happen. And if I told you Aaron Rodgers only had 1 interception all year long, would you believe me?
Right.
Because even I thought there was at least more than one of those at some point, but it's definitely for this. This is going to be an offensive fireworks show. Neither defense is really all that great this year. Matt Ryan hasn't played awful, but his defense hasn't really shown up. And Julio Jones, I mean, he's the ultimate weapon, and he gets triple coverage and still finds a way to pull off 1,300 yards. But this is a nice 7. This will be can we just get rid of linemen and and linebackers and just say, let's have a 7-on-7. Let's just call it a 7-on-7, and the first person to 50 wins.
All right. Then we got the Ravens versus the Chiefs. Now, this one is a 1 o'clock tilt. 10-2 Chiefs, 7-5 Baltimore Ravens. Second game without running back Kareem Hunt. What are your thoughts on this one?
Still give me the Chiefs. I don't like it, but Lamar Jackson is the quarterback now, and I don't think you can ride a quarterback that is going to run the ball a combined 38 times in 2 games. There are running backs that don't get those kind of carries nowadays. This guy he's getting the load of a running back now. Now, he has a good defense to go with it, but Pat Mahomes has just been so good this year. Until you prove me differently, it's going to be hard for me to go against that. Those Chiefs are at home on top of all of that. I just don't think the Ravens will be able to keep up points-wise. You have to score virtually every possession. I think they're going to employ Pat Mahomes to run a little bit more until they figure out how to run the ball. Maybe Tyreek Hill in the backfield. That'll be a little bit of fun. They're going to find different ways to have smoke and mirrors as far as the running game is concerned. Even the short passing game. I can see Andy Reid using a bunch of different guys. Kind of like screen time. You'll see a lot of – you remember how Brian Westbrook was used? I expect to see somebody like a Tyreek Hill used that way and call it a running game. But give me the Chiefs. This one, and they'll pull away late.
All right, same here with me. Like, even though they are missing one of their best weapons, the point is, the truth is they have a ton of weapons. So I don't think this will necessarily make them one-dimensional. I think it'll just make things more difficult in that particular dimension that Kareem Hunt brought to your team. So, with Spencer Ware, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run the ball if the blocking is well, just like any other running back. He's just not as dynamic as a Kareem Hunt. And like you said, I don't think this will totally put a wrench in the Chiefs' plans. I just think it'll make offensive football and the offensive playbook and the offensive play calling by Andy Reid, it'll just have to ratchet up a little bit. He'll have to be a little bit more creative in what he does. But they have enough weapons to sustain this at least for the rest of the regular season. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs on this one as well. I can't really – not that I can't see them losing to Baltimore, but Baltimore has some issues of their own on the offensive side of the ball. Hopefully they can be healthy at the quarterback position long enough to win this damn game. But we'll see how that plays out in the end. The next game we want to talk about is my Philadelphia Eagles going to visit the division rival and division leading Dallas Cowboys. Now, this is a revenge game for the Eagles. The Cowboys put one on them on Sunday Night Football a few weeks ago. The bad part about this is the Eagles have to go and play this one on the road. The Cowboys really impressed me with what they did when they played the Saints. The defense is playing very well. I still don't totally fear as a fan what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball, but Amari Cooper is helping them keep drives alive, keep the chains moving. We already know what Ezekiel Elliott is. I think they turned on this switch of, all right, let's just go balls to the wall. Because a few weeks ago, you had all the criticism, people saying that you need to fire the coach and the team needs to be blown up and this and that. And they went out and kind of played with a reckless abandon that you're not used to seeing from a Jason Garrett coach. He kind of threw caution to the wind and let his talent be talented. That's what, he didn't do before. He didn't always let his talent be talented. So now they're on a bit of a roll. I think, just because of the rivalry in general, and they see each other so much and know each other so well, I think the Eagles have a shot at it. But I'm going to pick the Cowboys, especially because they get to play this game at home. Usually towards the end of the season when these two get together, it really doesn't matter where they are. The Eagles usually put the smackdown on them. It's just that the Eagles haven't showed me anything consistent enough throughout this season for me to believe, though they're the Super Bowl champions, that they have this switch that they could just turn on. The Monday night, Fred, come on, man. They should have scored 40-plus against that Washington team. And I'm not even just saying because you look at Washington's roster and how depleted they were. I'm talking about if you look at the game and what they left on the field. They went down, didn't get a 4th and goal, but on 6 points then. Carson Wentz threw an interception into the end zone. They missed another 6 points on a red zone turnover. I think there was another instance where they were in the red zone several times and didn't come out with points and still score 28 points. You can't leave those type of points on the field against a half-decent team. And the way Washington was depleted, at that point, they were no longer a half-decent team. Reluctantly, angrily, I got to pick the Cowboys on this one.
Ooh. It has to be bad when you take the Cowboys, it's bad. It's gotten bad. And I have to.
Hoping
I might
Dak
have to
lays an
agree
egg,
with
though.
you.
Hoping Dak.
Yeah, that's the last time these two met up. Ezekiel Elliott ran all over those Eagles for 151 yards and a touchdown on 19 carries. 19 carries. For me, when I see this Cowboys team, they have the formula. They have that third piece. Back in the 90s, they had the triplets. I'm not calling these guys. They have it. They have their triplet. They have a quarterback where you can scheme. You can kind of hide him, even though Dak threw 36 times. You can somewhat hide him with the running game. Give him easy throws to guys like Amari Cooper, who can separate, and seems like he's revived his career a bit. But on the other end, where's the running game for this Eagles team? Josh Adams hasn't been great. Carson Wentz, he's putting up the numbers, but I don't want Carson Wentz.
But no, not great.
Yeah. For me, I don't want to see my quarterback throwing 44 times. That's just a bit much. Even Tom Brady, I don't want him throwing 44 times on a regular basis. Up front, this Cowboys team is literally just they're just beating people. They're just beating offensive lines off the ball, and they're just getting after quarterbacks. DeMarcus Lawrence is a monster. If Randy Gregory can keep his nose clean, he's a monster. And then you had Jason Peters go down against Washington on Monday. That injury didn't look all that great. So that offensive line now has problems, and you're going up against a pretty stout defensive line. And if you can get past all of that, Leighton Vander Esch is really, really, really making me I don't want to say reconsider my defensive rookie of the year pick, because Derwin James is balling, but if he played like this all season and there was no, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, Sean Lee Who. I'm going to put my name on it. Herm Edwards, put my name on it. Sean Lee Who. That's how good he is. Give me
just a note, Jason Peters and Timmy Jernigan they're both on track to play, so he dodged major injury on Monday.
Still, give me the Cowboys in this one, and I hate it because I don't want to see the Cowboys backdoor their way into these playoffs. I hate it. Right. For my sake, guys, please be. Can Meek come in, put out a song, something? Can we get something to get these guys riled up, because I don't want to see the Cowboys in the playoffs.
All right, we'll see. Now we got the Rams visiting the Chicago Bears. That is the Sunday night tilt. 11-1 Rams, 8-4 Chicago Bears. Both lead their respective divisions. Mitchell Trubisky is on track to play this week. He's confident that he's going to play this week. I still see the Rams pulling this one out, even though it's going to be played at night in the cold, Soldier Field. Mitchell Trubisky possibly being back. I still see the Rams, because this is the time where the Rams have to turn it up. Now, they're 11-1. It sounds funny to say somebody needs to turn it up when they're 11-1, but we're at that stretch where they're, about to go into the playoffs. So either you take an L here, because I'm one of those believers, like if you're doing too well, I think it's okay to take an L right before you go into the playoffs, just to because a lot of people talk momentum. Sometimes I think it's good to get knocked down to earth so you won't go into the playoffs overconfident and looking past people. So it might be either time to take that one L that resets them and puts them back down to earth, or they continue this momentum. I think this particular week, I think they're going to continue the momentum in Chicago, just too much. And people are starting to play too well. The defense is starting to be the defense we thought they were going to be. They're not there yet, but you can see the improvement every week, and we already know what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. Give me the Rams. What you got?
If there were a few more offensive weapons and I knew that Trubisky would be playing, I'd be calling for an upset special. But I don't know. But if an if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk and we'd all be happy on a Sunday night. Give me the Rams.
We might be that anyway. All right, so all right, last but not least, and this is a game I pretty much have a rooting interest in because oddly enough, we were convinced, and it's probably still not going to happen, but we were convinced that there was no way the NFC East were going to get two teams into the playoffs. As it currently stands, they have a shot at a wild card. But this game plays a big part into that. We got the 6-5-1 Minnesota Vikings going to face the 7-5 Seahawks. Now, this one is a difficult one for me. We know the home field advantage that Seattle has had over the past decade, maybe a little less than a decade. And we know they've been playing maybe above what a lot of people thought that they would be this season. I think you might have believed in them a little bit. I think it was Seattle and Washington. Silly. Seattle and Washington that you were higher on than everybody. I'm not going to just say high on, but higher on than everyone else. Through most of the season, with both teams, you've been pretty much correct. Washington gives you an excuse because their team looks like a mash. Their roster looks like a mash unit right now. This one, this is the way they've been playing. It's like I expect Seattle to go in and win this, but I also expect a desperate Minnesota team who's been underachieving so far. You know, they were supposed to walk away with the NFC North this particular year, and if it wasn't a walk away, they were supposed to be contested by the Green Bay Packers, not the Chicago Bears in the way that they're doing it. 6-5-1, fighting for a wild card. I say Minnesota goes in there desperate, and I say they come out with a win. I'm rooting against it, so I hope I'm wrong. Pray I'm wrong. But I think Minnesota goes in Seattle and gets a win this week.
Well, for this one, I got to stick with my pick because I said Russell Wilson would will this team to the playoffs. I mean, you lose Richard Sherman, you lose Earl Thomas, you lose Cam Chancellor, you lose pretty much your whole defense. You lose Michael Bennett. I mean, this team got decimated. You only have –
And this has nothing to do with it, but Brandon Browner going to be in jail, so –
yeah, that's 5 years later, but still, they're feeling the effects because he was the other guy on the other side of Richard Sherman who was so imposing, and they never found a guy to replace him. But on the offensive side, they have this guy, they call him Russell, last name Wilson, and this guy, he just finds ways to win games. Rashad Penny looks like he could be a player after they drafted him in the first round, and we thought after a couple of weeks, this guy might be a bust. He's not so fast. Tyler Lockett looks like a beast. Doug Baldwin's Mr. Consistent. Give me the Seahawks to win this one. What I saw against that Patriot team where that defense Tom Brady sliced this defense apart. And the Seahawks have very similar weapons, minus a Gronk here and there. They have similar weapons, smallish receivers who just find ways to make catches and get open. They can separate. You have a decent running game. And that Vikings defense is banged up. Xavier Rhodes banged up. You have guys like Marcus Sherrills out there. Mackenzie Alexander is banged up. Trey Waynes is banged up. Harrison Smith is out there on his own right now. Anthony Barr's a beast, but he'll probably be spying Russell Wilson the majority of the game. So that'll be an interesting battle. If Seattle can just run the football and just keep moving the chains, shorten the game, make it an ugly game. Kirk's first cousin, my first cousin not there. He's not the one. He's just not the guy. I haven't been a fan of him even when he was in Washington. I never thought that move would work. And quite honestly, it's kind of held serve. Give me Seattle to win this one. And this team makes the playoffs. Come on, Seattle. You got me right. You got me right.
For the record, for me, I don't necessarily blame that on Kirk Cousins. I just think they added a big money quarterback. Of course, they paid him too much, but they added a big money quarterback, and the rest of the team just didn't perform the way that they expected them to perform. It's a short window in the NFL, and because you have a dominant season the year before, it doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going to come out and play the way that they played the year before. I mean, look at both teams right now who were NFC championship game participants. You know what I'm saying? So you're banking on a lot, thinking all we need to add is a quarterback, and we're going to be over the hump. It's not that easy. It is not that easy.
You cannot play fantasy football in real life. How many times have we seen it? Your Eagles. I mean, really, the Rams had the infrastructure already in place. They had that base roster with guys in place. The Patriots could do it. They had Tom Brady there. But even regardless of the sport, you can't just have an all-star team. It doesn't just simply work that way.
Right. And especially an all-star team where the quarterback is the newest member. Like, that's the guy that you want to be around for a while. That's the guy you want to build around, not throw into the mix. It wasn't as easy as they and Minnesota Vikings fans thought it was going to be. But that is our Pick Six segment, and that is our show for the week. You know, by this point, you guys know where to find us on Sunday. Just hit us on Twitter, Facebook, anywhere else. We're somewhere talking football on Sunday. One last, just a quick shout out, man. Some news broke earlier today. Let me get to the. I gotta get the sound effects in here, Fred. Man, breaking news sound effect, if I can find it. But they had some terrible breaking news in Denver. Emmanuel Sanders. They think he may have torn his Achilles. So they're going to be.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I did see that. I saw that.
Yeah, and he was balling this year. Like, he's been somebody I've always admired. Like, when everybody wanted to tell me how good Deshaun Jackson was, I was always looking at, like, Manny Sanders. I'm like, they got the same build. Damn it, used to wear the same damn number. And he could do so much more than Deshaun Jackson. Like, Deshaun Jackson's a devastating deep threat, when he feels like playing. But Manny Sanders is what he should aspire to be.
Definitely. Just think, Ben Roethlisberger was throwing to him and Antonio Brown, and they said, "Sorry, we're keeping Antonio Brown." I mean, Ben, what are you doing, man? You could have. Come on, man. You couldn't fight for that other receiver. I mean, I'm just saying. That's above my pay grade. I'm gonna leave that alone.
All right, so y'all know what the drill is. Catch everything we're doing at warroomsports.com if you want to catch archive episodes of this show, or Quick Slants if you're a college football fan, or The War Room if you're a fan of everything. We talk about a little bit of everything on The War Room. You can check out all of that stuff at the hub, warroomsports.com, the War Room Sports YouTube page. And, most other places where you do your podcast listening, you can find something that we're doing. So check us out. But like we always tell you guys, man, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance. And we'll see you chumps on top.
Going up to LaFell. Touchdown. The big screen. Sanchez over the middle. Touchdown. Play action. Cutler wide open. Sanzenbacher.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.